Very good morning to you, 7 a.m. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, and we should warn you that background is artificial. It is not like that for real outside. It is cloudy. We have some wintry weather for your Thursday morning, so check with your individual school districts because a number have now issued a closing, a snow day, or at least a delayed opening. For more on the slippery travel, we head straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with a first check of the Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hey Ken, good morning to you. This background, very real. It is icy and snowy across most of New Jersey. A live radar look outside at 7 a.m. shows all of that snow, especially up in northern New Jersey, that's been falling upwards of 2 inches now, north of 287 in western Passaic and Sussex County. That wide swath of pink, however, showing the mixing, that's sleet and freezing rain. So if you've been hearing the little pinging of the sleet and ice pellets off of your windowsill overnight, that's what's falling across New Jersey, specifically in the northeastern section, right on the border with Rockland County there in northern Bergen County, up the Parkway, right down Route 17, and take it a little further south into central New Jersey. Most of this ice has been falling since just after midnight, so now accumulating and accreting, sticking to some of the power lines and even some of the car tops as that easterly breeze takes over, blowing it off of the water. You'll notice the last few frames here, that green line working its way northward, showing the rain mixing line taking over. This will be the case through the rest of the morning. Again, just in time for the main rush of the morning commute, the busiest part of the morning. With most of that rain taking over now off the Parkway, the damage has been done. That freezing rain, sleet, and ice will likely continue to stick around, even though the temperature is slowly warming. Notice that deep shade of blue working its way southward as that cold air drains down into the northern New Jersey, keeping most of the state frozen. Now, how long does this last? Well, the Futurecast has it at least through 9 or 10 a.m. for the northern half of the state. As long as that easterly breeze persists, temperatures stay above freezing at the coast. So upwards about Monmouth County and north, you'll likely stay frozen until the rest of this morning with those temperatures at or around freezing for you north of Route 78. Then as we head through 10 a.m., that wind persists, keeping all of that frozen precip as liquid south of Monmouth County. Up north, it stays frozen, and I think we wrap up right around noon time today. So it'll be a much quieter afternoon with the wind shifting, allowing for temperatures to moderate back into the upper 30s. Likely still see some slick spots through this afternoon into the end of the day. We'll take another look at your live radar, zoom on into other parts of the state, and look at the future radar coming up with another check of your weather forecast. Let you know what's next on tap in this weather parfait, Ken. First a little freezing rain, then some sleet, then some snow, then some rain. Every hour seems like weather throwing another variable at us today.
All right, that's a parfait that we don't necessarily like, but thank you very much for keeping us on top of Mike. We appreciate that, sir. And we do have a lot of traffic, of course, because of Mike's forecast here. We just found out that we have a weather-related speed advisory on the Garden State Parkway, both directions from north of exit 90, which is Chambers Bridge Road in Brick Township, to the New York State line in Montvale. Speed reduced to 45 miles an hour. There's a statewide, or at least that section of the state, salting operation going on right now. Also, there is a weather-related issue on I-80, both directions west of the Jersey state line in Pennsylvania. All lanes open, but there is a full commercial vehicle restriction within the state of Pennsylvania from 376 to the Jersey-Pennsylvania state line. Also, weather-related problems on US 22, Route 22, both directions west of the Jersey state line over into Pennsylvania at the eastern Phillipsburg area. Full commercial restrictions on that as well. Mike showed you that just now, all that pink with all the ice. That's causing some massive problems on roadways. And then one last thing on 78, both directions, again, west of the Jersey state line. This is all happening right at the Pennsylvania state line with New Jersey. You have problems on 78 going over to Easton. All lanes are open, but again, full commercial vehicle ban in that area in the state of Pennsylvania. That's on the Pennsylvania side, not the New Jersey side, but that's because of icing conditions there. Our time now is 7:04, and this Sunday, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles are set to face off in Super Bowl 59. There is no shortage of storylines heading into the big game. The Chiefs are chasing history, aiming for a three-peat, something no team has accomplished in the modern era. Meanwhile, all eyes are on Saquon Barkley, the former face of the New York Giants, who's making his Super Bowl debut in Eagles green. It's a tough pill to swallow for Giants fans, but for Barkley, it's the opportunity of a lifetime. With legacies on the line, matchups to dissect, and emotions running high, let's break down what we can expect on Super Bowl Sunday. Joining us now is Lance Meadow, a national sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. You've heard him. I've heard him. We watched him. Thanks, Lance, for joining us this morning. It's good to have you on, and thanks for getting up early with us. We appreciate you.
Absolutely, Ken. It's a pleasure being on. Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. Well, the Chiefs are looking to become the first team in modern NFL history to win 3 straight Super Bowls. What do you think has been the key to their sustained dominance?
Well, I think it's been their methodical offense, Ken, if I were to pinpoint one facet of the team, because they actually have put together more 10-plus play drives than anyone else in the NFL this season. And it's remarkable because, right, when we think about the Kansas City Chiefs, we think about this explosive offense over the last few years. This year, actually, it's been more smaller plays and Patrick Mahomes dissecting defenses slowly up and down the field. And that's hard to do in today's NFL because you figure, right, you go on 10-play, 11-play drives, something's bound to go wrong, a penalty, a turnover. That has not been the case. They've been very good in protecting the football, and they've been very effective in avoiding the mistakes and finishing drives and still putting up nearly 30 points a game. So I think that, to me, has been the most impressive aspect, considering in today's NFL, you have to be explosive or else something will likely go wrong.
Chiefs quarterback, of course, Patrick Mahomes, already cementing himself as one of the all-time greats, relatively young, of course. How does this Super Bowl impact Mahomes' legacy?
Well, I think right now, most people would consider him one of the greatest, in the top 2, if not the greatest. Of course, Tom Brady has the volume, and Mahomes, even with this victory, is not going to surpass him. But Ken, what Mahomes has done in such a small period of time is remarkable. We're talking about a quarterback that came into the league in 2017, did not even start a game until the very last contest because Alex Smith was the starter, and they had the luxury of, hey, we're going to work him in. We're going to let him be a sponge. We're going to let him grow and develop. Most teams don't have that luxury when they take a quarterback in the first round. So as far as legacy is concerned, I think he pretty much has already solidified being one of the greatest. But this is going to put him in a completely different category compared to any other quarterback, any other player in NFL history. Think about it. We have not talked about flirting with a three-peat since the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s when they had their dynasty, and they wound up losing in the NFC Championship game to the San Francisco 49ers. So they didn't even make it to the pinnacle of the Super Bowl. So this, to me, is the exclamation point to uncharted territory for what he was already building up to being one of the greatest.
At 7:08 right now. And Travis Kelce playing in yet another Super Bowl, of course. You think that his experience can give the Chiefs that edge in those high-pressure moments?
Well, hopefully there won't be too much pressure on him considering his better half, or I should say his whatever label you want to do, his rock star girlfriend will be, I'm sure, watching up close and personal. But in all seriousness, Kelce is the seasoned veteran, Ken. And I think what you were hitting on is the beauty of Patrick Mahomes' offense and his team overall is he doesn't have to put the cape on every single play and work his magic. And not every quarterback, as you can attest to, has that comfort. But he's got Travis Kelce. He has Xavier Worthy, a young up-and-coming shifty wide receiver. Hollywood Brown, he just got back, who they acquired this offseason, who people forget was a bit of an afterthought because he had been nursing an injury. The running backs, they've got a plethora of weapons, and that's what I think makes this team so unique and interesting. It's the fact that Mahomes doesn't have to play a favorite. You brought up Travis Kelce. It's easy for him to force feed the football, right, to Travis Kelce, but he doesn't do that. If you look at their breakdown this season, they're spreading the wealth. And it's very similar to the team they just beat, the Buffalo Bills. It's not one guy like maybe we see in Cincinnati with Jamar Chase or even Philadelphia with an A.J. Brown. No, when you play Kansas City, you have to defend every single angle of the field. And that, of course, is what makes this team that much more dangerous.
Now, Saquon Barkley, of course, playing in a Super Bowl, but in an Eagles jersey, something the Giants fans became apoplectic about. Of course, they never wanted to see. How do you think that New Yorkers feel about this? I mean, you have some who are fans, but once he went over, that was it. He crossed the line and that was it.
Yeah, I think they've been nursing their wounds all season long, Ken, to your point. But I think at this point, you ask most Giants fans, I think they've come to the realization that even if Saquon Barkley stayed with the team, highly unlikely that he was going to have anywhere near the level of production that we saw him put up in Philadelphia. Why? Because the environment shapes the player. And the Giants did not have the strength up front in the trenches on the offensive line. They clearly did not have the quarterback play, as we saw this season, which is why they moved on from Daniel Jones. He has all of those elements supporting him in Philadelphia. That's why he's had all of these explosive plays. That's why he's had a career and a record-breaking campaign. So I think most Giants fans understood that. That doesn't mean that they're doing jumping jacks, and it's a ball of fun watching, to your point, a guy who has been a staple of their franchise in the opponent's jersey, the rival, and is one win away from winning a Super Bowl. But I think if you ask most Giants fans, I think they've come to the realization this was not going to come to fruition in Big Blue. So either root for him from an individual perspective after he gave all that he could for the Giants organization, or continue to once again be all worked up, which at the end of the day, I think we know is not going to do anything, because the NFL is going to move on. Whether you love the player on an island or whether you love the rival, it makes no difference at the end. It's a machine and it's well-oiled.
People like to just get angry. That's just the thing.
Sure.
Barkley, by the way, of course, was a game changer for Philly, clearly. But what do you think specifically he's brought to the offense that they were missing before?
Well, he's brought back their run game, Ken. And that's what it comes down to. If you look at the Eagles in the second half of last season, the run game was non-existent. Jalen Hurts was throwing the ball on a loop. And he even actually went to Wink Martindale, the former Giants defensive coordinator who went to Michigan this past season, called him up on the phone after the Giants beat the Eagles in Week 17 and said, hey, what's going on with our offense? You game planned for us. And Wink said, you're predictable. You have no run game. So Howie Roseman, the general manager of the Eagles, he goes out. He says, all right, if the Giants don't want him, we'll bring him in and we're going to get our mojo back. We're going to start pounding the football, which is what the Eagles were doing if you go back to the first half of last season. So that is what he's established. On top of that, though, here's the icing on the cake. Not only has he given them a consistent ground game, but he has brought explosiveness, specifically with respect to their run game. Barkley, in 2 of the 3 playoff games, Ken, he's had at least one 60-yard run. And more often than not, it's led to a touchdown. So he's not only establishing what has been a big part of the identity of the Eagles in recent years, he has also put extra points on the board as a result of him finishing drives and telling the defense, okay, hey, you want to get caught up on A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, our 3 great weapons in the passing game. You want to focus on Jalen Hurts. That's great. Well, on any given play, Hurts could all of a sudden hand the ball off to Saquon. You better have the big boys up front in the box, 7 or 8 guys, to be able to slow down Saquon. So it's drastic what he has done. That's why what Howie Roseman has done in investing in the running game wasn't a huge risk. He was basically investing in an offensive weapon. Saquon's not a conventional running back. He's a guy that's going to take the top off the ball, whether it be through the air or on the ground. And look at what it's done. It's brought the Eagles to within a game of a Lombardi trophy.
If you had to pick one X factor player from each team who could make the difference in this game, who do you think they'd be and why?
It's a great question. I'll start with Kansas City. The Chiefs' defense is not being talked enough about. Steve Spagnuolo, who Giants fans are very familiar with, having been their former defensive coordinator, I would argue he has developed the heart and soul of that team. Chris Jones, who is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, maybe it doesn't make sense to call him an X factor, but I'll break the rules when it comes to that. You go back to his Super Bowl against San Francisco the other year, the deflections at the line of scrimmage, Ken, the plays to pressure Brock Purdy. He's going to dial him up, Spags. We know Steve Spagnuolo loves to blitz. So Chris Jones, to me, is the guy to pinpoint with respect to the Kansas City Chiefs. For the Eagles, they need to display explosiveness through the air. Jalen Hurts has been a little bit of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde this season. We know what Saquon could do. But if you want to beat Kansas City, you have to keep pace with them. from an offensive standpoint, and they know what Saquon could do. But they're going to have to show dimensions to their passing attack that we maybe have not seen consistently every single week. And A.J. Brown, to me, is an easy guy. I'm going to say Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith is a speedster. He can take the top off the ball. He can get the intermediate routes. I would like to see Devontae Smith have a bit of a coming out party where if you're going to get his best performance, it's going to be on Sunday in the Big Easy. So I would pinpoint Devontae Smith or Philadelphia on their offense in terms of their passing attack, and then Chris Jones in the pass rush for the Kansas City Chiefs.
And coaching, of course, always plays a massive role in the Super Bowl. How do you see the chess match, if you will, between Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni playing out?
I'm glad you brought that up. I've been sleeping on a bit of a nugget that I've been dying to let the audience know. So you've given me the platform, Ken, and I'm going to bring up Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. And here's where your point about Andy Reid comes into play. Andy Reid, who has been with the Chiefs, it seems like forever, but has been with Mahomes since Mahomes came into the league. They've gone up against Vic Fangio an awful lot. Why? Fangio was the former Denver Broncos head coach. So that was a division rival. They saw Fangio year in and year out, twice a year. They also saw him last season when he was the Dolphins defensive coordinator. They've gone up against him 8 times in recent history. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and that Chiefs offense, Ken, they're 8-0 against Vic Fangio's defense. So you want to bring up the chess match? That, to me, is what basically moves all the chess pieces off the board and says, king me, because they have had the better of Vic Fangio. When it comes to Nick Sirianni, he hasn't had that much history against Steve Spagnuolo. So that, to me, is the true X factor. I don't think the Eagles have seen as much of the Chiefs' defensive scheme as what Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have been exposed to with respect to Vic Fangio. And that could be, to your point, a huge game changer that, to me, once again, gives a significant edge for this Chiefs dynasty to continue and in all likelihood do something we have never seen in NFL history.
Now, the Chiefs clearly have won big games before, but what would you say their one weakness is in their game?
Well, the one weakness, I think it's twofold. Number one, they have not been great, at least in the playoffs, in stopping the run. And what can the Eagles do? Well, the Eagles can pound the football. So the Chiefs are going to have to shore that up with respect to their linebacker play. I think Spags is going to have to rely on his secondary to blitz a little bit to put the Eagles in some second and longs and third and longs to maybe prevent the Eagles from even being in attractive downs and distances to run the football. The other thing that I would point to is Philadelphia is plus 10 in turnover differential this postseason. It's remarkable. They've had 10 takeaways, no turnovers. Now, Kansas City's been very good in taking care of the football. They were plus 6 this season, and they only had one mishap. That was a lost fumble against the Bills. Mahomes, Ken, has not had an interception since mid-November when they played the Bills in the regular season. That's 8 games. That's 13 touchdowns and no interceptions. But crazy things happen in the Super Bowl. So you can really maybe throw all of these trends out the window, and I would get concerned with how opportunistic the Eagles are and how Vic Fangio's defense operates. Kansas City may slip up. This could be the game where Mahomes does have an interception. So I wonder, can a 10-play, 11-play drive be sustainable where we talk about they avoid the mistakes? That could be a bit of an Achilles heel against a hungry, opportunistic Eagles defense. So that, to me, is a bit of an issue. I gave you the double whammy. I gave you one problem maybe on offense as well as one problem on defense.
All right, 7:18 right now. And Lance, here's a very important question. Prediction time, of course. What is the over-under on how many times, and you mentioned her before, how many times are we going to see Taylor Swift throughout the game?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, Ken. I would say they've been preparing this in terms of the cameras and the buildup. I mean, we're going to see her, I would think, nonstop. And if Travis Kelce scores a touchdown and has a big play, I mean, up the ante even more. I know there's going to be a lot of fans that are going to be irritated. You know how this is a polarizing topic. I love sports. I mean, they can throw anything they want up on the camera. It makes no difference to me. But I would say Taylor Swift, I'd put it in the 17 to 20 ballpark. So I'd say over-under number, let's put it at 20 throughout the course of the game, expecting the Chiefs to do a lot of damage on offense in the form, I'm sure, of Travis Kelce of all guys.
All right, more importantly now, seriously, who wins Super Bowl 59? Your opinion and why?
In the beginning of the season, Ken, I would say I'll take the field over the Kansas City Chiefs. There's no way they're going to do what any team has failed to do in NFL history. It's just, this is such a quick turnover type of game in general. It's hard to sustain winning, but Kansas City breaks the mold in that category. So ever since they made the postseason, I said I'm not betting against the Chiefs because this team finds a way. 11 of their 17 games this season, Ken, were decided by one score in the regular season. If that doesn't prove to you that they know how to stay with teams and close the door, I don't know what to tell you. I think they do it better than any other team. They've taken a good job in caring of the football. They have the explosiveness mixed in with the methodical offense. I like a close game. I like a competitive game like we saw 2 years ago. But when the game is on the line, when it's in crunch time, in the clutch, no one executes better than the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs winning by a field goal, and I'll say 33-30 in a high-scoring game because both of these offenses can do damage. So fans are going to be entertained, but expect Reed and Mahomes to make history come Sunday in New Orleans.
Awesome. All right, sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer Lance Meadow. Can't thank you enough for joining us on New Jersey Mornings today.
You got it, Ken. Thanks for having me. Enjoy the game.
You bet. You too. Our time is 7:21 right now, and when we come back, meteorologist Mike Pavetta will have more on this Thursday's wintry weather, plus what we can expect for the weekend. Here's a hint: more wintry weather. Plus, President Trump signs an executive order banning transgender athletes from competing in female sports. And if you're a football fan, and you probably are because you just heard this wonderful interview, listen up. We've got an amazing giveaway for you. We're giving away 2 tickets to Verizon Fan Fest at MetLife Stadium this Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, February 9th. You'll get to play football drills with NFL legends like Tiki Barber, O.J. Anderson, and David Tyree, snap photos on the field, and enjoy VIP access to the EY Coaches Club and Corona Beach Club. Plus, there are going to be games, VR, and so much more. To enter, follow at ONNJ on Instagram. You have to spell it all out. It's no abbreviation. So it's at ONNEWJERSEY on Instagram. Tag 3 friends in the comments. Hurry, the giveaway ends at midnight, February 6th. We'll announce the winners February 7th. Don't miss out. For more info, scan that QR code. You can't miss it. It's the whole darn screen. Or visit at On New Jersey on Instagram. Good luck to you. Let's get ready for an unforgettable Super Bowl Sunday. We're coming right back. It is 7:25. Federal employees had until 1 p.m. Thursday to accept an 8-month salary payout to resign from their jobs or face potential termination. So far, at least 40,000 government employees accepted the deal, saving the U.S. about $100 billion over the next 20 years. And many on the left were screaming over the Trump administration's suggestion that the U.S. should take over the Panama Canal. Initially, Panama's president had protested, but later agreed to end agreements that were in place with China to grant the communist nation control over zones into and out of the canal zone. And now, Panama has just agreed to grant free passage to all U.S. government vessels, something that could save the U.S. over $1 billion a year. How'd you like to be a fly on the wall when the president of Panama was meeting with Marco Rubio to see what led to that decision? As the left keeps screaming over President Trump's shutdown of USAID, more and more is being discovered regarding the shady spending by the organization. USAID was established by executive order under President Kennedy in 1961. It was supposed to be one of the country's means of distributing financial aid to poor nations around the world. And what it's blossomed into is a $31 billion a year behemoth that funds a clear left wing agenda in nations around the world. Programs like a transgender opera in Colombia, a transgender comic book in Peru, $2 million for sex changes in LGBT activism in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $1 million for a nonprofit that is linked to terrorist organizations, $5 million for EcoHealth Alliance, which then funded the Wuhan lab, which is believed to be responsible for the origins of the COVID virus that killed millions of people around the world, $1 million that went to feed Al Qaeda fighters in Syria, funding to print personalized contraceptives in developing countries, and hundreds of millions to fund heroin production in Afghanistan. It goes on and on and on. Those are the out of control expenditures that we know of. Well, apparently, there were billions of dollars of expenditures that were listed as having anonymous recipients with fake addresses, all the makings of a money laundering scheme. This begs for a deeper investigation. And for Democrats who are screaming over its shutdown, they might want to consider a different fight to pick. As for people starving and dying around the world without the help of USAID, well, the shady organization was responsible for only about 10% of U.S. foreign aid last year. In other words, we have other, more efficient means of getting that money to people around the world who have real need without using USAID. 727. Let's get a quick check now. The wintry Garden State forecast. Meteorologist Mike Favetta. Lots of schools are closed because of all the ice on the roads.
Yeah, and this ice will likely linger into the middle of the day, at least continue falling until that time, and then probably not melt until much later on this afternoon. A lot of bright shades of pink across most of New Jersey, especially in the last few hours, where some of that colder air now working back into northwestern New Jersey. They're up in Warren County, north of Hunterdon County, where the sleet changing back to snow as the easterly breeze picks up along the coast. Some of that pink showing the sleet and freezing rain changing back to a plain rain. And that's going to be the trend from this point forward, specifically for central and southern New Jersey, the changeover back to a plain rain as that breeze keeps going. Right there along Raritan Bay through Keensburg and even by East Brunswick, that sleet and freezing rain continues. Basically right down the Turnpike Parkway, not as terrible, especially north of, say, Monmouth County, or south of Monmouth County, I should say, where all of that rain has now taken back over. A little further south from there, over toward LBI and down by Atlantic City, a plain rain for you, and the same goes for you right down to Cape May. You haven't seen much in the way of frozen precip this time due to that easterly breeze off of a milder ocean. Now, with the future radar showing a little bit of a break in the action through between now and about 9:30, notice most of the energy moving east. This will ultimately fill in. There's another batch of ice that comes in beyond 9-10 a.m., and that will likely keep us, well, quite icy until we get to later on this afternoon into the morning. Already 3 inches of snow falling up in Wantage, even over in western Passaic County, West Milford, picking up at least an inch of snow for you. Same for you in northern Bergen County, whereas the ice totals, you can see them here over the last 12 hours working its way northward. Anywhere greater than 1/10 of an inch in ice is pretty significant. Once you get to that 1/4 inch of ice, especially in the extreme western portion of New Jersey, right over there on the Pennsylvania border, that's where it becomes dangerous. And with that, road temperatures are now below freezing statewide. So untreated surfaces, certainly seeing that frozen precip north and west of 287, that turquoise color, you're well below freezing, and then right around that freezing mark where it's navy blue, anywhere south and east of the Turnpike. And with those icy conditions showing in pink, yeah, it's going to be a slippery ride, especially through the rest of the day today going into the afternoon. Temperatures above freezing at the coast. We are below freezing north and west of the Turnpike and likely stay that way until the better part of the day. With that easterly breeze pushing in that warmer weather, that's why central and southern portions of the state not feeling as harsh of a morning, but the winter weather advisory continues at least through 1 p.m. in the northern sections of the state up in Bergen County. At least we don't have to deal with what's happening in central Pennsylvania, an ice storm warning over there. Now our forecast gets better before it gets worse, because with sunshine tomorrow, we see a big thaw, melting as highs climb to 40, but there's another round of accumulating snow that comes in for Saturday evening, and that could last right up until daybreak on Sunday morning, clearing for Sunday afternoon. So one round after the next. We take it one storm at a time, Ken, day by day. So we'll get you ready for Saturday afternoon system coming up. Give you details on that in just a bit.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. And a reminder that there are a lot of school districts that have closed because of this wintry weather, or some have delayed openings. So check with your individual districts before sending the kids out today. 7:30, and when we come back, the Wintry Garden State forecast once again with meteorologist Mike Favetta. Will do a 7-day, lots of school closings and, as I mentioned, and delayed openings. Plus a look ahead to the weekend. You are watching On New Jersey Mornings, streamed daily on ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. 7:31, we're coming right back. But 33, welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. If you missed On New Jersey's GOP gubernatorial primary debate Tuesday night, we have some highlights for you this morning. One of the issues discussed was whether New Jersey has a so-called deep state.
Here's one right now. We can start with Senator Durr. So last month, we witnessed something truly remarkable. 5 New Jersey governors, including 2 Republicans and 3 Democrats, Phil Murphy and Chris Christie were there, sat shoulder to shoulder at a groundbreaking ceremony presided over by Democrat power broker George Norcross III, who is currently battling a racketeering indictment. Observers of New Jersey politics couldn't be blamed for believing this is more evidence of the existence of what some call a deep state, an entrenched and permanent bureaucracy of special interests that crosses party lines. And no matter who wins the election, the same people and interests always seem to remain in power. So my question for you, we could start with Senator Durr. Does New Jersey have a deep state problem? And if so, what would you do to address it?
I'd empower the people, because absolutely we have an establishment problem. That's what I told you. We have guys here who are been in the system for years. We have people who've been part of the system who are running other campaigns. This is a cabal, whatever, for lack of a better term, that has controlled New Jersey, and they like the status quo. If you're going to change something, you got to do something different.
The candidates were also asked about President Trump's desire to abolish the U.S. Department of Education and what that could mean for New Jersey.
Administration is taking steps to defund and dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. He wants to do it from within. If you're elected governor, will you seek to do the same thing at the New Jersey Department of Education? I'll start with Assemblyman Chitterelli.
I don't think we need more than a couple dozen people, David, to set the standards for what aptitude is for our children here in New Jersey. And at the end of the day, what matters most to a child's education is their teacher and their parents' role. So all these people that we have, thousands upon thousands, working in Washington, D.C. at the Department of Education, also here in New Jersey, why? How many people does it take to establish the standards for what reading and math and aptitude should be for any child throughout their K through 12? Let's establish those standards. Let's provide for a curriculum as promulgated by a state board of education appointed by Governor Chitterelli. And then let's hope that our local school boards, in partnership with parents and teachers, can get the job done on behalf of our parents. I don't know why we need thousands upon thousands of people working at the federal and state level to do that, to improve our educational system.
Then the candidates were asked to raise their hands if they think New Jersey taxes were too high, and then to explain that in detail.
I don't want any words on the first part of this question. I just want you to raise your hands if you think that taxes in New Jersey are too high. Okay, so I see 4 hands. So I want to flip that question around and ask, are there any contexts in which you think that raising taxes would be a good idea? Are there any people or companies or groups in New Jersey where you think that the taxes are not high enough right now?
I would raise taxes on the Democratic legislature if they raised taxes. And, you know, there was an old comedian who used to say, you know, we'll give you a break if you give the consumers a break. And the Democrats have never seen a tax they don't love.
Later in today's show, we will be joined by the man you just heard from, Republican gubernatorial candidate, New Jersey State Senator Ed Bramnick, to talk about his take on the debate. It is 7:36, and we have wintry weather right now outside. Dangerous travel in some parts of the state, and a lot of schools are closed or there are delayed openings. So check with your individual school districts at this time, 7:37. We check back with meteorologist Mike Favetta to find out what the Garden State forecast is looking like. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. It looks a lot better this afternoon. This morning, a mess on the roads. Salters and Sanders out, keeping the roads clear. But even at 7:37, you see most of the state covered in that shade of pink or blue, showing the ice and snow. The green, showing the rain, has worked its way as far north as Middlesex and right there toward Monmouth County. So throughout this afternoon, as all of this clears, there will still likely be the residual effects of that icing, even as it looks like it's starting to break up on live radar. Some of the future models here forecast that we'll likely see this fall until we get to the middle of the afternoon, even though there'll be a little bit of a break in the action for the rest of this morning's rush. So less intense, spotty ice and snow falling in through this point forward up until about 9 a.m. But you can already see what has fallen has been pretty significant across most of New Jersey, at least going through the middle of the morning. So the timeline for the rest of the day. Now we have the snow and ice. The freezing rain continues through the rest of this morning, and then it changes to all rain, specifically starting with southern New Jersey, working its way through central New Jersey by the late morning. It's basically done by noon, but the slippery effects will last until the end of the day. There's your light rain forecast with temperatures in the mid-40s, so too warm for ice or snow at the coast, thanks to that easterly breeze pushing in some warmer air. You see those wind directions coming in through the rest of the morning. And then throughout the middle of the afternoon, that all clears out. We're back to sunny, cold weather tomorrow, and then right on the heels of yet again another weekend, another round of snow starting as soon as 8 a.m. on Saturday. All of that shade of blue working in, maybe at times mixing in with a few ice pellets or freezing rain drops in southern New Jersey, but even through the afternoon there, later on in the day on Sunday evening. We'll take you in the long-range futurecast starting off Saturday evening with all of that ice and snow getting going, lasting through overnight Saturday into early Sunday morning. It likely clears out just in time for daybreak on Sunday. So Sunday will be fine for any travel later in the day into Sunday night. Shouldn't have any worries there. But there will be another round of wintry weather ahead for this weekend. Then we look a little further down and we have system number 3 that comes in on Tuesday afternoon. That will be arriving later in the day, likely taking over Tuesday night with the heavier bands of snow, likely from predominantly in southern and central New Jersey this time. Not much falling in the northern part of the state, and that lingers until about Wednesday morning. So rain chances and snow chances, at least days that we have left on the map here, going higher on Saturday and then again Tuesday of next week, with our best chance of that wet weather. Now, the futurecast here shows with the next round of cold air coming in, reinforcing shot of clear weather as well for tomorrow. Looks great to wrap up the work week before another round of snow and ice comes in later Saturday, lasts through Saturday night, clears by Sunday morning with our next front, and then we're quiet to start off next week before yet again another round of weather comes in. So hour by hour here going into next week, yes, you see that take over. Going beyond that in terms of the longer range, we have higher than average chances of that wet weather or frozen precip at least through the middle of the month. But the 7-day forecast shows there's plenty of winter weather to suit your fancy going into the end of, or the middle of February, and at least the end of the week. Saturday, next chance with temperatures holding in the 30s, quiet on Sunday, and then Monday and Tuesday of next week, likely start off on Tuesday morning going into the afternoon, could linger into Wednesday for northern New Jersey. Southern New Jersey has a bit of a wetter forecast here, especially for Saturday with a little bit of that rain mixing in later Saturday night. And then again, Tuesday into Wednesday, maybe better chances of snow starting off with that system for Tuesday night, since most of that heavy accumulation should be central and southern New Jersey by the middle of next week. So still on our toes here. Lots of weather, Ken, going into next week.
And I remember you and I both worked for another worked with another meteorologist years ago who used to talk about the fact that weather patterns are not unusual, right? Because the atmosphere is nothing more than a big ocean in the sky. So when you get waves and patterns, especially during this time of year, it's not unusual, right? So to see every few days that we get another system, before people say this never used to happen, this is normal, right? For weather. That's my one of my ants I just gave you, by the way. It never happened.
True. It's true. Yes, leaving the fluid mechanics of meteorology aside, it did used to happen.
Exactly. Well, listen, now that that's established, something more important. You have baby Nino at home. Are you guys going to be hosting guests for the big game on Sunday?
No. Now, because RSV and flu season is so bad, all of the pediatricians that we've talked to say no big parties, no big gatherings until at least 8 weeks old. So that is the new guidance. And it makes sense considering how many people are getting sick. Even our own technical director, poor Pam, you can hear her, in the microphone also without a voice. So it's it's going around.
Yeah, I know like probably a dozen people myself anecdotally who are sick. This is true. That's why I'm kind of glad that we're doing this in individual studios. A lot of people don't realize we're all in different places. But do you have a big TV at home? Obviously you have one behind you, but do you have a big TV to watch the game and stuff at home? All right, if you are hosting a big group in the future and your TV's in bad shape, and this is not a commercial for them because I'll mention different companies, but I just read Walmart is offering a bunch of TVs for like stupid prices.
Right.
There's a 43-inch TCL 4K, which is an amazing picture, for $178.
It's wild. It's wild.
That's crazy. It's like disposable.
15 years ago, paid almost $1,000 for a 42-inch flat screen. And now, for that same price, you can get 100 inches at the big box retailers. I mean, you didn't think it was possible a few years ago.
And if you want a bigger screen, they got a 65-inch for $298. Even larger, they got a 75-inch Hisense TV on sale for $478. Now, remember, my father would say, yeah, but that's a no-name. Well, my father doesn't talk like that, but that's a no-name brand. Why would you want to spend that money? $478. It's like if it lasts you a couple of years, then, whatever. And if you're not into Walmart, I saw deals also at Amazon. PC Richard & Son had a bunch of deals. Target, Best Buy, and Costco. They all had like these ridiculous. You walk into Costco, it's like these giant TVs meet you right at the front door, like $8. Take it. What?
I think the biggest problem is, trying to get it in the door.
And when you have to get rid of it, You
Yeah.
can't just throw them out. You actually
No.
have to bring it to recycling day
E-waste. Yeah.
specifically for electronics.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the problem. Somebody should go into business just recycling old TVs. That's you and I. That'll be
Yeah.
our next thing. All right, Mike. Thank you so much, sir. We'll check back with you in a little bit. And don't forget that you can stream us on New Jersey Mornings on Roku, Fire TV, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, and other streaming services, just like any other TV channel, right on that big screen we were talking about. So come on, break out the platinum card. You could watch On New Jersey Mornings whenever you'd like. 7:45 right now is the time, and we are coming back in 2, so don't go away. And welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. It is now 7:47, and we have a lot of schools closed this Thursday or on delayed openings due to the weather. To meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Wintry Garden State forecast, plus what we can expect for the weekend. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hey, Ken, good morning to you. Yeah, we've started off the morning with a little bit of ice and snow, especially across central and southern New Jersey. That has now transitioned over to rain in the southern portion of the state, but we'll take you back here to just after midnight, 1:45 in the morning. And you can see with all of that snow and ice getting going, a lot of it worked in across Pennsylvania as freezing rain and now continues through the rest of the morning hours, while some of this looks like it's breaking up across eastern Pennsylvania, working through in the next hour or two. I think we'll see the intensity go down, certainly, and that's some good news. Great news for power outages, too. Had less than 1,000 customers in Atlantic County earlier this morning before 7 a.m. That has since cleared, so great news, especially a lot of people staying home and off the roads because taking down a power line like this wouldn't do so well, especially for those trying to work from home. Notice that going into the afternoon with the futurecast showing most of the precip ending by around 10, 11 a.m. We'll still get a few spots of drizzle and freezing drizzle up until about noon. Then it all clears out with that wind coming in off of the water, also allowing for a wind shift later on today. And that clears the way for some sunshine on our Friday, hoping to melt away whatever's left over. Then we go into Saturday morning. And yes, there's more blue on the screen. This is our next round of snow and ice that comes in early Saturday morning in central and southern New Jersey, but eventually works its way northward by Saturday afternoon and evening. And when that is finished, it will give us another round of additional snow. So only about 1 to 2 inches this time around through the rest of the day today in northern New Jersey. It's a very light snowfall, but it's all about the sleet that is accumulating quickly into this evening, at least a quarter of an inch of sleet in Flemington and over by Trenton. Western New Jersey getting hit a little harder this time thanks to that warmer air working in. Now, how much ice is left? I think the ice impacts will be minor to limited over the next several days, specifically with our next round of snow that comes in on Saturday. And with that, it'll give us a round of snow and ice throughout the course of the day. Predominantly just plain snow for southern New Jersey, working its way northward into flurries, and then by clearing by Sunday with a high of 42. So while the weekend isn't ideal, it's at least fine for travel, going to the game or going to any local parties on Saturday or Sunday evening. I think you should be just fine out and about. You've got plenty more weather to talk about for the next round of snow that comes in, Ken, on Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening, and then again on Thursday. It's coming up with a check of the 7-day in a few minutes.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. And we do have traffic related to weather right now, some issues throughout the tri-state and down into central and southern New Jersey. We are told that there are speed advisories all over the place, so please pay attention to that. We understand that right now there is a weather-related situation on 495, which is by the Helix to watch out for. Also, there are issues, oh my gosh, all over the place. If you go over the border into Pennsylvania, right along the New York-Pennsylvania border, there are a lot of commercial vehicle restrictions. So just pay attention to the electronic signage, and whatever you do, give yourselves lots of extra travel time. And if you have kids getting up to go to school, check with your school districts. Many districts have closed. Some are on delayed openings. Time now is 7:50. There is a health phenomenon linked to one of America's biggest annual events, of course, the Super Bowl. Recent studies have shown the excitement and the stress of the game can actually increase one's risk for a heart attack, particularly among those with pre-existing heart conditions. Well, here to shed light on the issue is Dr. Craig Bassman, who's Associate Director of the Structural and Congenital Heart Program at Hackensack Meridian Hackensack University Medical Center. Thank you so much for coming on with us this morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Ken. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Dr. Bassman, can you explain how something as seemingly innocuous, one would think, as watching football can lead to a serious health risk?
Yeah, unfortunately, what you're mentioning is true, and it follows a pattern we've seen in the research, which is that events not just like the Super Bowl, but other sort of high burden stress spectacles like the World Cup soccer, there's been about a 15 to 20% increase in cardiac events during these sorts of events, and it's something that we've noticed for a long period of time, that there's been a big interplay between stress and heart disease. And it's not necessarily that the stress is causing a heart attack, but in those who are predisposed to heart conditions, the stress is inciting the heart attacks at that point.
So those, like for instance, I have AFib, and you could certain times you can be triggered to go into AFib, right? If you're at a point where you're not drinking enough water, et cetera, and then you get a stressful situation like that. So I would be the person who has to be a little more careful than the average person.
Yeah, I think it all starts with, prevention well before the Super Bowl Sunday, in that, following with healthcare professionals, getting your heart checked, dietary, lifestyle modifications. These are all important. But what we do know is that for people with heart disease, when your sympathetic, that fight or flee system starts to kick in, what happens is there's changes in the body, including alterations in blood flow, and that's precipitating cardiac events. So for people with atrial fibrillation, you're getting increased atrial fibrillation from the stress. And for people who are predisposed to heart attacks from, say, high blood pressure, diabetes, or just a family history, what we're seeing is an uptake in events on the day of the game. And even for, the period after that, the losers, are still feeling that stress. And the people in the city that are actually hosting, or also the data is also showing that there's an uptake in heart attacks for those as well.
Interesting. So it's a combination, of course, of the stress of the event and the physiological response. And then, of course, add to that the foods. We tend to eat foods that are a little less healthful for us, right? At the Super Bowl, like we do at the holidays too. But I guess you combine foods that probably cause inflammation, foods that are not necessarily good for you to eat on a regular basis, high fatty foods. You couple that with the stress and any physiological factors, and now you're basically setting yourself up.
Yeah, exactly. It's the body. I always suggest that when our body's used to certain consumption of food, consumption of alcohol, and on these sorts of events and spectacles, all these sorts of the sodium levels that we're taking in, the alcohol ingestion, the body's not quite used to it. So, for those at risk for heart attack, we just have to be mindful of not just the stress of the game, but also, what we're taking into our body. Diet, exercise, these are all things that we need to do, over a long period of time. To prevent heart attacks, having chicken wings at the Super Bowl game, that's not going to induce a heart attack per se, but the stress of excess consumption of whatever food or alcohol beverages that we take, that can kind of precipitate it.
I remember my cardiologist telling me alcohol will dehydrate, and that'll throw off your electrolytes. And if you throw out your electrolytes, you couple that with all the other stresses. Now you're really kind of setting yourself up without even thinking about it. Are there specific symptoms that viewers should kind of look out for? And see, a lot of times if you're at an event, you say, I'm feeling something, I'll ignore it. I'm here. I don't want to do anything about it. But they should really pay attention, right?
Yeah, I think that you have to be cognizant of, what your body's feeling. Classic signs for a heart attack are, pressure in the chest, radiates to the left arm, radiates to the jaw. But, we're not seeing classic signs in all patients, and many patients, especially women, diabetic patients, they're presenting with what we call atypical symptoms. So these are symptoms that aren't quite the textbook, meaning something like indigestion, nausea, sweating, shortness of breath. These sorts of things can also be a sign of a heart attack. So, you really have to kind of be a little bit in tune with your body. If something's going on and it's lasting for a long time, more than a few minutes, and it's something that you're not used to, that could be a sign of a cardiac event. And what we do know is, in this current era, we have so many novel and minimally invasive ways to fix heart attacks. So if you can present early to the hospital, we can really reduce the chance of any sort of morbidity, mortality, and also improve, long-term effects. Because, heart attacks is not just a short-term risk of dying, but, there's long-term risks and quality of life that are associated with heart attacks that go untreated.
I mean, in this era where you can get one of those little cardia devices, which I carry with me because of my AFib, I have the 6-lead one. I send it every day. I send my readout to my cardiologist just to make sure I'm not into AFib. But today you have iPhones, they have the watches that monitor your rhythm to make sure you're okay. These are all easy ways to make sure that you have good heart health, and you shouldn't ignore. If you have so much at your fingertips so that you don't have to have the quote unquote inconvenience of going to an emergency room or calling your doctor, use those, right? Use those to your advantage. So would you say that, and what other advice can fans have to enjoy the game safely?
Yeah, Ken. Well, first of all, your cardiologist would be very proud. I think that you're saying all the things that we want our patients to hear, which is, use what we have. See the physicians regularly. We have so many different screening exams that we can do, and there's so many different types of heart disease. So, we have to kind of take in not just what the doctor can do and provide, but what you can use at home, things like monitoring devices and, using your Apple Watch to detect different rates. So I would say, just lastly, obviously, if you're a little bit scared to have a cardiac event on the day of the game, then you should also, be cognizant that if you're predisposed to heart disease, that any stressful period can incite heart attack. So, what I would say is, try to reduce stress levels on the day of the game. Try to minimize excess consumption of food and alcoholic beverages. And then also, primary prevention is the best prevention. Seeing your cardiologist, seeing your doctors, so that, when a stressful period, such as maybe the Super Bowl comes along, that you're not at risk.
All right, Dr. Craig Bassman, Associate Director of the Structural and Congenital Heart Program at Hackensack Meridian Hackensack University Medical Center. Can't thank you enough for joining us, and safely enjoy the big game yourself on Sunday. Good to have you on.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. 7:58 on New Jersey hosted the big GOP primary debate Tuesday at Rider University with the New Jersey Globe. Coming up next, Republican gubernatorial candidate, State Senator John Bramnick, is going to be on in just a few minutes. And that is when On New Jersey Mornings comes right back. It is 8 a.m. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. A wintry Thursday leading to school closings, delayed openings, and slippery travel. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. A lot of weather this morning, predominantly ice and snow in northern New Jersey with the sleet pellets and ice pellets pinging off of the windowsills as we speak. Some snowflakes falling north of Route 80 as well. All of this has been going on since just after midnight. And while there's a little bit of a break in the action right now, live radar at 8:01 showing that with some spotty areas of freezing drizzle appearing on the map. It's not all terrible. It's not coming down really heavily right now, but it's just enough to make for reduced visibility and make for some trouble, except if you're south of Ocean County where it's just a plain rain. That's thanks to an easterly breeze pulling in some warmer weather off of the ocean. With the future radar showing the break in the action not lasting long, once we get till about 10 a.m., we'll have another round of freezing rain return with the sleet and mixing shown in pink. But the flurry accumulation likely wraps up with this total snow anywhere from 2 to as much as 4 inches up there in Wantage and Sussex County, 3 inches in western Passaic County, and even right down toward Bergen County as a final total. The ice totals have been approaching 1/4 of an inch in some spots, not necessarily a glaze or accretion of clear ice, but also some sleet pellets that have mixed in, making for that kind of crunchy snow as you walk on the sidewalk or out to the car this morning, giving us that reduced traction on the roads. Speaking of the roads, the road temperatures have been well below the freezing mark. This is road surface temperature, holding at or below freezing statewide, with the coldest air and the coldest surfaces north and west of the turnpike, keeping things icy even with that snow condition right there down the parkway up until about exit 90, like Ken mentioned earlier. So how long does this last? Well, the futurecast keeps us above freezing along the coast through the rest of the day, so plain rain for you. But I think going into the rest of the morning, there will still be some freezing rain chances and sleet chances up in the northern section of the state up until about noon, and then it quiets down for later on tonight. We are sunny all day tomorrow, allowing for a nice thaw, but another round of snow comes in for Saturday, and that will give us a light snow early on in the day in central and southern New Jersey, and then transition to an accumulating snow in the northern section of the state. Yes, more snow that comes in for the weekend, and it might actually be a more significant accumulation throughout the second half of Saturday night going into Sunday morning. Even though the winter weather alerts are up now, and some have been canceled even for the coast, that doesn't include what happens for Saturday. So here we go. This is the 2 to 4 inches that is forecast to fall, and really has fallen, for this morning. We tack on to that additional for a total of anywhere from 4 to 8 in Hackensack, waking up by Sunday morning anywhere from 8 to as much as 10 inches. I think 12 is on the high side, and even up to 8 inches in Morristown. So there's this section of northern New Jersey that could tap into additional accumulating snows, maybe worthy of a winter storm warning, by the time we get to later Saturday night into early Sunday morning. Remember, it's a nighttime snowfall, so it shouldn't be terribly impactful, especially happening on the weekend, and it all clears out by Sunday morning. But it's one to watch because it may pack quite a bit of a punch going into Saturday night and early Sunday morning, specifically with the coldest part of the night allowing for that snow to accumulate as the storm picks up intensity. That's new information, Ken. Just came out hot off the weather model press a short while ago that could really cause significant impacts overnight for Sunday morning. But at least the kids love snowing or sledding. Excuse me. The kids love sledding on a Sunday morning, so it should be fun.
Yeah, when you could stay home, it's fine. I'm looking at a screen right now that has a gazillion spinouts and accidents right now. I just want to hit a couple of them, and I'm glad you're keeping on top of it. Thank you so much, Mike. In fact, let's just hit some of them right now. There is weather-related problem both directions. I-287 from the New York State line in Mahwah Township, north of New Jersey Turnpike, and Edison Township, all lanes open. All commercial vehicle traffic restrictions active for today. Also, weather-related problems on I-80, both directions from exit 68, the Jersey Turnpike, I-95, and Hackensack to east of exit 1, Delaware Water Gap in Hardwick Township. All lanes open, all commercial vehicle travel restrictions in effect. We also had an issue on let's see. Well, you know what? I don't have it in front of me yet. I will bring that up to you. So we will keep you updated is the point on all weather and traffic conditions here on New Jersey Mornings. 8:05 is our time. On New Jersey hosted the GOP gubernatorial primary debate at Rider University with the New Jersey Globe. 4 candidates battled it out, and each stood his ground. 2 of the candidates spoke with us Wednesday. We tried to have on a third, State Senator John Bramnick, but we had some darn technical problems. So if you recall, if you watched yesterday, I said, come on back this morning. And it was good that he did come back. We should mention Senator Bramnick's also an attorney and my favorite, a stand-up comedian. Welcome back, Senator Bramnick. Good to have you on this morning.
Good to be with you, Ken.
We got your voice. That's great. Now, we should also mention we invited all of the candidates on. All took us up, including you, except for one, Jack Chittarelli, who declined to join us both Wednesday and today, and has not given us a date yet.
Yeah, he doesn't want to make any. He doesn't want to make any mistakes because he thinks he's the front runner. So I think that's a bad theory from my friend Jack.
Well, Joe Biden also thought he was the front runner. And we'll let history dictate what happened there. But he is welcome to come on, no matter what. But Senator, we're talking. This is your time. We'll give you your time. You've been known for your moderate stance within the Republican Party, and New Jersey's always been more of a moderate state. How do you think that approach played out during the debate the other night?
Well, you can only be yourself, and I'm the only one on the stage who's actually serving in the legislature. I'm the only one in the entire group that keeps winning elections. So I love the fact that they come out and they've got all the answers. Unfortunately, they keep losing. I mean, Jack lost twice. Ed Durr won one time. Bill Spady never won, actually lost 2 times. So everyone's an expert, except you got to win because nothing changes until you win. So there was one allegation that, oh my God, I got together with the governor. They must have looked at the stuff down in Trenton because the governor actually won the last election. And if you remember Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, they would get together. They want to make the Democrats the enemy. They're not the enemy. We disagree with them on policy. And all they're looking like is really mean-spirited Republicans. And that's why we continue to lose. Moderate Democrats and independents want to vote for us. They want balance in Trenton, but not if you're mean-spirited and you're calling each other names, you're calling each other liars. It doesn't work.
There are certain realities that the Democrats are significantly in higher numbers in New Jersey, even though those numbers are coming down and Republicans are coming up. It's going to be a while before Republicans catch up with Democrats in numbers. I mean, you rely really on the independents in the state of New Jersey to carry the day. So do you see yourself as a never Trump candidate? Because I know you've had issues with President Trump back 8 years ago and today.
Look, I've said it all along.
If Trump does something good for New Jersey, I'm with him. If he does something bad for New Jersey, I'm not afraid to stand up. You saw the other three candidates, right? They're shaking in their boots. All they talk about is how much they love Donald Trump. You actually think that the middle of the road voter, 75% of people in New Jersey in the middle, want you to pledge your allegiance to one man? Or do they want to see a governor who, if something's going right, president does something good on infrastructure, you agree, but if he does something that's ridiculous, you stand up and say it's bad. Not my three adversaries. They're shaking in their boots. Now they hate Phil Murphy, they hate Chris Christie, they hate everybody because they're so afraid that somebody might think they're 1 inch away from being the most pro Donald Trump. That's not what people in New Jersey want. They want you to put New Jersey first.
There was one point during the debate where forgetting which one of your opponents had made some comment about, when I become governor, I'm going to do X. And when I become governor, I'm going to become Y. And then you stood up and you said, well, here's some reality. You have to have this many votes in the assembly and this many votes in the Senate. So you identified yourself right there as the person who knows where the light switches are and who knows how state government functions. Do you feel that will give you a superiority, if you will, an advantage when it comes to the primary debate? Or do you feel that people are looking to go away from people who are in government now and looking to the outside?
Would you hire an electrician who's never worked electricity, right? That's what you have here. You have people who really don't know what the rules of the road are. So that's why I had to explain. The Senate is going to be Democratic when a Republican governor is sworn in 2026. When I was a Republican leader in the House with Chris Christie, for us to get rid of the estate tax, for us to cap government spending, we had to meet with the leadership on the Democratic side. The three other candidates think they're going to go in and they're just going to sign an executive order and everything's going to change. That's not what the law is. And the courts are going to push back against that. So, look, I understand when you don't have experience, then you say stuff that doesn't make any sense. And I heard a lot of that the other night.
Well, the debate certainly had its share of heated moments. Do you think there were any specific moments that were particularly challenging or that helped you define your campaign?
Well, what's challenging when you're pro New Jersey is that when you see every other candidate so in fear of saying anything against Donald Trump, other candidates who have zero experience, they don't really get a sense of how you win. My district was won by Kamala Harris by 12 points. I won that district by 7 points now, but I also won as Republican leader 5 times for 10 years from all the Republicans. So you have to have the Republican principles, lower taxes, smaller government, law and order, but you also have to show you have a heart. You can't be mean-spirited and think that the people in the middle of the political spectrum are going to vote for you. I saw a lot of mean-spirited name-calling. You think people in New Jersey want to hear each other calling, you're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar. What are you, third graders? Pants on fire? You got to be mature. And you have to understand what the realities are. And I'm hoping that voters in the Republican primary say, we want a Republican governor with the basic Republican principles, but not mean-spirited, and not somebody who loses all the time.
We know that from history, New Jersey is like a pendulum, right? It goes back and forth. We get a Democrat for 1 or 2 terms, then we get a Republican for a couple of terms. So it looks like a Republican is going to get elected. So it's more than likely that one of the 4 of you will be governor come this fall. So here's a question: how would you?
I'm not so sure of that, because we always take out the incumbent governor who's been for 4 years. That worked out for 44 years, and then Jack Ciattarelli lost. And he lost because I don't think people thought he was authentic. I think most of the time we would have beat Phil Murphy. Jack lost that race. And if he's a nominee again, this time he'll get smoked.
Unless of course, you account for the Volkswagen full of Democrat votes that were found on the side of the road at 1 o'clock in the morning. But that's a whole other show.
But let me tell you something. You talk about a myth, right? if you look at the counties where the Republican clerks, right, and they run the elections, Trump lost just as badly in those areas that he did in Democratic districts. So, if you don't believe the courts, then you're not a law and order candidate. And I've been saying that all the time. And we actually have to start showing that we are the law and order candidates.
All right, and that is fair. That is fair. How would you assess your performance at the debate? Is there anything you might have done differently, or do you feel that you got your message across as effectively as you wanted to?
Well, when you have all that fighting on one side of the stage where they're calling each other liar, 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 that kind of takes a lot of the air out of the room. And then you don't really get to the issues. So if we have another debate, which we are, I'm hoping the moderators will turn off the microphones unless people are answering the question. So yes, it was difficult because it was a food fight. But remember, people watching sometimes like food fights. They like the WWE. They like cage fighting. So it might have been entertaining, but I think it's hard when two people spend all their time calling each other names and then you can't get to the issues. So yeah, next time I hope we get to the issues because I'm the one who's well-versed on all the issues, being in Trenton for 2 decades.
And of course, New Jersey Globe reporter Joey Fox asked what I thought was a very good question. He asked, if you are the GOP gubernatorial candidate and President Trump offers, say, to campaign for you or comes into New Jersey at the airport, would you take him up on the offer? If you're elected governor, would you maintain a good relationship with him, meet him at the airport, et cetera?
He's the president of the United States. If the president of the United States wants to come to New Jersey and support me, he is welcome. Now, what I also said, which let me be clear, I'm also going to say to the president where I agree and where I disagree. But to reject the president coming, you know what that reminds me of? When they criticized Chris Christie after Sandy because Obama came in and brought help. Now, when someone's a president of the United States, I learned at the dinner table from my father that you respect the president of the United States. You may not agree with him. So I will continue to be the person who will stand up when it's good for New Jersey. But to say you won't meet with the president, you won't let him come in when he's the president, I mean, that would be very short-sighted. You don't have to love him, but you have to respect him. And that's what I do.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot right now, Senator.
Oh, I love the spot. I'm a trial lawyer. Go ahead and put me on the spot.
You're a trial lawyer, but even to me, more importantly, you're a stand-up comedian. So could you give us a joke before you go?
Sure. Well, I was knocking on the door the other day, and a 13-year-old kid came to the door, and he was actually smoking a cigar, drinking a beer. And I said, is your dad at home? And he looks at me and goes, what do you think?
It took me a second. It's early. And it's clean. Look at that. All right, New Jersey State Senator John Bramnick, thank you for joining us today. Best of luck, and we'll see you at the next debate as well. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ken.
You bet. Have a good day. It is 8:16. When we come back, more on the wintry weather with meteorologist Mike Favetta. Plus, we heard all the fears about TikTok, the China-based social media company with access to our personal data. Well, did you know that your Easy Pass transponder may be linked to a different company that is feeding China all your personal data? On New Jersey Tech reporter Fisher will be along with all the details. And if you're a football fan, listen up. We here at On New Jersey Mornings have an amazing giveaway for you. We are giving away 2 tickets to Verizon Fan Fest at MetLife Stadium. It's this Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, February 9th. You will get to play football drills with NFL legends like Tiki Barber, OJ Anderson, and David Tyree, snap photos on the field, and enjoy VIP access to the EY Coaches Club and Corona Beach Club. Plus, there are games, virtual reality, and so much more. To enter, follow at On New Jersey, all spelled out, ONNEWJERSEY, no abbreviations, at On New Jersey on Instagram. Tag 3 friends in the comments. Hurry, the giveaway ends midnight, February 6th. We'll announce the winners February 7th. Don't miss out. For more info, you can scan that ginormous QR code on your screen right now. Again, you can also visit at On New Jersey on Instagram. Good luck. Let's get ready for an unforgettable Super Bowl Sunday. It is 8:18. On New Jersey Mornings is back in 2. And welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. The time now 8:20, a wintry Thursday. Some schools are closed, others have delayed openings. The roads are very slippery, ice in a lot of places. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the complete Garden State forecast for you. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hey, Ken, good morning to you. The ice and snow continues intermittently for the next several hours, likely wrapping up just by the lunchtime hour. You noticed before how I said that we'll likely see the radar fill in, and that's exactly what's occurred. Just in the last 20 minutes or so, that shade of pink looking like it's dissipating, and then it comes right back. Well, as that ice keeps on going through the rest of this morning, I think we'll see that weather timeline kind of hold true, keeping the freezing rain, snow, and ice around for now, changing to rain later in central and southern New Jersey, and then it's all out of here by the lunchtime hour. Throughout the course of today, the rain continues there in central and southern New Jersey, with temperatures holding well above freezing. So not much of an issue for icing for you south of Ocean County. Now, the futurecast today keeps the rest of that light rain up until about midday, and then it clears out this afternoon and tonight, meaning we have a beautiful start to tomorrow, lots of sunshine, but a snowy start to Saturday with our next round of light snow that moves in central and southern New Jersey, transitions to all snow by northern New Jersey by the evening hours, and might linger going into Saturday night. Here's the long-range futurecast, putting you out beyond 48 hours into Saturday night and early Sunday morning. You see that snow lingering, and it could accumulate to several inches by Sunday morning. Now, it isn't much of a travel issue because there'll be plenty of time to clear the roads for Sunday afternoon. If you have plans to go anywhere for the game on Sunday evening, no worries there. But early Sunday morning could be tricky, especially after a fresh snowfall. There's our next round of cold weather that comes in tomorrow, clearing for Saturday morning. And then by Saturday afternoon, there's that snow getting going in northern New Jersey and lingering right through Saturday evening with our next round of wintry weather. We're quiet for Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening, and then by Monday, notice the hour by hour going into the next part of Tuesday morning. That could be our next round of winter weather. So we'll put you ahead here and show you that hour by hour one more time. The wider view showing starting off in the morning hours, giving us our winter weather for Tuesday and taking us into Wednesday. So here's the rest of our winter weather today, wrapping up by the middle of the day. We start off a little bit cooler throughout the first part of the day, and then eventually bring back plenty of clear sky to take over on Saturday and Sunday. Oh, the camera decided to give us a little trouble. But
there we go.
We're back. Saturday morning, bringing back that chance of snow early on in the day, and then Sunday has our round of clear weather. But look at that, Tuesday and Wednesday, Ken, another round of snow and rain that could take us into the middle of next week. So one after the next, we're in that pattern of every, looks like 24 to 36 hours, a round of snow and rain.
This happened about 5 years ago. This was exactly the same pattern. So for all those people who say this never happened before, it's climate change. It happens every few years. But thank you for that, Mike. We'll be back with you. And we still have a lot of issues on the roadways. We find out that there is now a crash and a vehicle off the road on the Turnpike, southbound entrance ramp, Newark Bay, Hudson County Extension in Newark. We also have, of course, my maps just decided to recycle at that moment. We'll get you more in a minute when I could get this working. In the meantime, we've all heard about government concerns over the Chinese company ByteDance and their access to the personal information of Americans who use their very popular social media app TikTok. But what if I were to tell you that every time you use your Easy Pass to pay a toll, i.e., you drive through the overpasses, you could be giving China even more information? It seems a Singapore-based company with links to China won the Easy Pass contract for the New Jersey Turnpike. That would give China a backdoor access to your name, address, license plate number, even your vehicle registration VIN number, any credit card you might have on file. So the question is, how the heck did this happen? And why did it happen? Joining us this morning to tell us more about it is On New Jersey Morning's tech reporter, Fisher. Fisher is a brand and digital strategist, and he can be found on X, Threads, and Instagram with username @Fisher, also through his website, fisher.media. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ken. Thanks so much. I think it's good to reset for a second and to be fair and to present all the facts. The company that you're talking about is called TransCore. That's a Nashville-based company has been in Nashville for 85 years. It was acquired in 2021 by a company called ST Engineering. And ST Engineering is a defense and engineering firm whose majority shareholder is a company that is required by law. It's based in Singapore. It's required by law to help fund Singapore's budget each year and has substantial business in China. Now, as you alluded to, they won a bid to manage the Easy Pass on the New Jersey Turnpike. So last year, New Jersey Turnpike Authority sent out a company's bid. This happens, all the time. Conduit Inc. out of Florham Park had been the contractor for the New Jersey Turnpike for 22 years. Now, TransCore bid $1.7 billion, saying, and again, they're bidding. They're saying, you pay us this money, we'll handle all of it. So $1.73 billion. Conduit bid, now Conduit again, Florham Park, local, New Jersey, bid $1.479 billion. That is $251 million less than TransCore, but TransCore got the bid and won the bid and will now manage the New Jersey Turnpike's Easy Pass and tolling facility, all of it.
Oh, you're talking about this is ridiculous. I mean, many municipalities, and I have to investigate whether New Jersey has this law. Many municipalities require that the government go with the lowest bid. And in this case, we're not talking a little bit, we're talking $250 million more.
Yeah.
And you have an in-state company, not something from New York, not something from Pennsylvania, an in-state company from the biggest city, or Florham Park and Newark, I believe they were also in at one point. You have an in-state company that for decades has been handling things, unless there was a big mix-up where they had issues, managing Easy Pass. But I've lived here for decades. I don't recall reading anything about that. And then you have state government officials saying, we're going to go with this company from another country that's going to cost us $250 million more. Oh, and by the way, we now find out that they will give all your information to China. How the hell does that happen?
Well, and this might be the influential part of this situation in this story, is that TransCore is the tolling company that the MTA hired to manage the congestion pricing system in Lower Manhattan Central Business District. I know you've talked about that both here and on radio. They also handle the tolling for Triborough Bridge. In fact, TransCore is responsible when they were, and this data is accurate as to when they were purchased by ST Engineering in 2021 during the Biden administration. TransCore is responsible for roughly 70% of the tolls Americans pay. Now, again, for those who don't understand, and you may not even realize that a lot of the technology moves so quickly, and there's more than just you drive, it reads it, and it charges you. There's customer service, there's billing, there's a lot of stuff in the back end. So that's why municipalities and states are now kind of handing off this responsibility. So as new toll roads get built, you'll see a contractor bids for that. They'll run everything, and then they either do a revenue split with the state or the entity, or they take the money until they get their money back because they're fronting it. So this goes on all across the country. And again, TransCore is responsible for roughly 70% of the tolls Americans pay. In Pennsylvania, Kansas, North Carolina, they handle landside tagging for airport employees in Denver. So it's a big deal. Now, where it comes in, and again, it feels like this ship has sailed, right? They're already handling 70%. But again, as you mentioned in the lead-in, if you have an Easy Pass account or any tolling account, and you can use Easy Pass up and down the East Coast, you can use it all the way to Florida. So you have an email address and your registration, your license, and all that stuff. It can be matched to other things. Now, again, we mentioned this during TikTok. We mentioned it during our talk about DeepSeek. If you can kind of model out how population reacts if something happens, right? Now they'll know you get in your car and you've gone south, and to get away from, God forbid, something that happened in New York City or whatever it is. It also allows the individual, right? And it might not be me and you, and I hear that all the time. Well, Meta has my data, Google has my data. What does anybody care? A friend of mine says it all the time, and I know he's watching. So, as an individual, we don't necessarily care, because it's like, well, what do they need my data for? It's not a big deal. But what about a senator? What about a congressperson? What about a CEO? If a company that is based or has their headquarters based out of China, and China notoriously has kind of a deal that they have access to the data if it's a Chinese company. Now, China could potentially know where you're going. And again, this is big conspiracy theory, but if they are trying to get somebody or influence somebody, you know, when they drive into the city, you know, if TransCore handles parking decks at some point, or, airport parking, where your car's parked, there's a lot to it. Now, on the back end, also, again, they have your credit card information. So say TransCore's parent company, or China in general, has Temu and, a bunch of other places that Americans are very willing to give credit card information. Now they can match up data, right? So they're saying, okay, so that Visa credit card ending in 1120 out of this zip code is this person. So now I know where they shop. It begins, and somebody's not in the background doing this, right? This is all done by computers, and it's done pretty efficiently. So, and already, just if anybody's not aware, your data is being sold anyway, credit card information by American companies. It's anonymized, but once you start breaking down where your home zip code is, where your work zip code is, this is your, this is your credit card number. You can tell the Starbucks you went to. I mean, this you could really narrow down. So when you feel that ads are following you, that's the perfect example that they're already saying we want this type of person who's into working out and this and that. This is happening, and this is now just a opportunity for China to use it against American citizens.
And just to know, just the other day, it was announced that all mail packages coming from China are now banned.
Well, they
So
were
if
briefly. They're
Go ahead.
back. They're back. It was a brief situation where the United States Postal Service was acting on the tariffs, that President Trump initiated, and didn't know how to handle incoming packages. So they are
Right.
working with CPB to.
But the point though
Yeah.
is if tomorrow the president decides to enact this again, and the
100%.
president just does day to day, he's just like he announced that we're taking over Gaza just at random. If that happens and China decides to be hostile back, who
Yes.
knows what they can do? They have all your personal information. And like you said, if they have sensitive information with our elected officials, because they too drive cars and they know if, oh, why were you out Tuesday night at that
Mhm.
restaurant in Manhattan while your wife was at home? That's the
Exactly.
kind of thing, as you said, no conspiracies, but that's the kind of thing where they can get us. We have to be very, very careful. And I think we in the Garden State need to find out why the Garden State decided to say no to a Garden State company and spend 251 million more for a
Mhm.
company that does business with China.
And I would
All
also
right.
say it would be
Yeah.
worth, calling the state senators and congresspeople and the United States senators, congresspeople, all the way up, because again, TransCore is responsible for 70% of the American tolling across the country. So it is far and wide, and not just here in New Jersey.
Gotcha. Fisher, brand and digital strategist, found on X, Threads, and Instagram with username @Fisher, and through his website, fisher.media. Thank you so much, sir, and
Thanks,
enjoy
Ken.
your day. You
You
bet.
too.
It is 8:33 right now. When we come back, another check of the wintry Garden State forecast. Plus, can the paralyzed walk again? We will speak with one New Jersey doctor who has a promising story for us on New Jersey Mornings. We'll return in just a minute. Morning, it's 8:35. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. A winter weather situation Thursday, forcing schools to close or open with delays, plus some slippery travel. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has your Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hey Ken, good morning to you. The snow and ice is still falling across most of New Jersey with that radar picture filling in the last hour or so. Try to get a little bit of a break, but you can see that even with that rain falling in southern New Jersey right now, it's still going to be messy into this afternoon. Whereas most of the precip is done by the time we get to the noon time frame. Notice the future radar still puts some light freezing drizzle through 10:30 across most of northern and central New Jersey, and that rain continues in southern New Jersey. We've seen snowfall amounts anywhere from 3 to 4 inches right on the New York state line from Sussex, western Passaic, and down toward northern Bergen County. 2 inches for you in Mahwah. With most of this melting on the main roads, there's still that ice situation. You can see the ice totals work their way and creep their way from south to north through the last 12 hours, accumulating up to 1/4 of an inch of ice. That includes the freezing glaze as well as the ice pellets. Now, the reason for that is the road temperatures still remain very cold. North and west of 287 were really chilly. Road surface temperature anywhere from 24 to 27 degrees and still around the freezing mark with the exception of Cape May and the southern end of New Jersey where it's just plain rain due to that road temperature above freezing. That ice continues across the middle of the afternoon, and I think we'll see conditions improve for this evening's commute. But notice the futurecast still keeping some freezing drizzle around right through 10 a.m. and then ultimately pushing eastward throughout the afternoon. So clearing happens tonight. A northwesterly breeze takes over. We turn sunny and dry for Friday. But look what happens Saturday morning. Our next round of snow comes in, giving us a light accumulation in central and southern New Jersey. Northern New Jersey could see a more significant accumulation as that progresses into Sunday morning. We'll talk more about that in just a bit, but that winter weather advisory expires at the latest at 1 p.m. in northern New Jersey. Snowfall totals anywhere from 2 to 4 inches this time, most of that in the extreme northern section of the state. But look what happens later Sunday morning. It's a Saturday night going into Sunday morning. Could see an additional 4 to 8 inches in Newark, an additional 2 to 4 inches in Morristown. This is the total when we factor in both systems together, and then up to 2 to 4 inches again in Hackensack. So another round of winter weather coming in to kick off our Saturday evening going into Sunday morning. That's what you see there. Snow and rain mixing. Likely going to be mostly snow this time. Clearing by Sunday, just in time for the big game. So travel for any parties or plans on Sunday afternoon shouldn't be problematic, but we will wake up most of New Jersey with a fresh coating of white on the ground for Sunday morning, Ken.
Oh, there you go. All right. Thank you so much, Mike. At 8:38, now a story of hope, resilience, and the transformative power of medical expertise. We're going to tell you about a New Jersey man named Michael who was involved in a life-threatening car accident that left him facing permanent paralysis. But one doctor, Dr. Nikhil K. Sahai, a board-certified orthopedic spine surgeon at the University Spine Center, turned despair into hope. Take a look.
Michael, 22 years old. Last January, I got in a car accident, broke my C6 vertebrae, left me paralyzed from my chest down. I remember the first surgeon that looked at me, this guy just had no idea what he was talking about. He thought I was on ketamine because my hands were all bent, but that's just because I had a spinal cord injury. Dr. Nick came and I was like, "Who are you?" And he's just like, "I'm here to be your surgeon. We're doing surgery in 4 hours." I was like, "Are you a good surgeon?" And he looked at me and he said he was the best. So I believed him.
I am Michael's mother, and I am a registered nurse. I read the report, which the neurosurgeon wasn't real happy about, but when I read it, I passed out. I just thought he's going to be paralyzed from the neck down. But then I met Dr. Sahai. I didn't like that neurosurgeon, and then here comes this wonderful man. So we felt very confident with him.
If it wasn't for that start and I didn't get an amazing surgery, I don't know how things would have played out.
He is incredible. When he walked out of that OR and said, "I have hope," most surgeons don't do that.
When the care assistants would wake me up and I'd just be sitting up and they're like, "What? They're not supposed to do that." I remember just after that, just slowly, foot started moving, started standing, started walking. I was like, "You're not supposed to do that," and I just did it.
I'm glad we found Dr. Sahai, and I'm glad he has his mind and his drive, and he never, ever will quit.
recommend anybody. Anybody. That might be my top recommendation for like almost any doctor for anything. I'd say he's the best doctor I dealt with for the whole process.
Amazing. And Dr. Sahai joins us now to discuss this incredible journey of recovery. Thank you for joining us, Doctor. It's good to have you with us. And can you walk us through what you encountered when you first met that young man, Michael, after his accident?
Thanks for having me, Ken. So this was at a trauma center here in New Jersey, and I got a call in the middle of the night, and the trauma team and the trauma surgeon kind of talked me through what was going on with Michael. I looked at the imaging in the middle of the night, and it was apparent to me that Michael had what's called a C6 burst fracture. So the C6 vertebra, or the sixth vertebrae in the neck, was basically broken and compressed into several pieces, and the fracture had caused spinal cord injury to Michael's spinal cord at the C6 level. And that's significant because that limits arm function as well as leg function, as well as sensation. So it was, and he had really no, when I rushed to the hospital, examined him, and he didn't have sensation or motor function below kind of his chest, and he had very weak motor function to his arms. I looked at this and I was like, this is a young person who I need to take to the OR and give the best chance of recovery possible. And so I, emergently rented the operating room and got him back there, planned my surgery, executed it with my partner, and got Michael on the road to recovery shortly thereafter.
Was he given Riluzole? I mean, I know that's one of the drugs that helps preserve any injury to the spinal cord until you could get to it. Was that something he was given when he was first injured, or was it just really a matter of time that you got to him fast enough?
The issue of sometimes we use steroids, intravenous steroids, in the acute setting of after a spinal cord injury, but there are studies and literature supporting more and more quick surgery, time to surgery to be faster than waiting more than 24, 48 hours. So, just like when you have a stroke, they say the old saying is time is brain. I believe that's true and analogous for the spinal cord as well, because it's also part of your central nervous system. So I wanted to kind of get this going as quickly as possible as I could for him and give him the best chance of recovery. So we got the operating room ready to go very quickly, and we took care of it expeditiously.
Was there an actual severing of part of the spinal cord?
So the spinal cord wasn't actually transected, but the fracture, the way that the fracture had kind of had broken was what we call retropulse, or it kind of pushed back into a spinal canal. So it bruised his spinal canal, bruised his spinal cord very badly. And that's evident on the MRI because there's a big white spot on his spinal cord at the area of the fracture.
And that could have caused, if left that way, that could have basically choked off blood supply and caused permanent injury if you didn't get to it fast enough.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thinking with spinal cord injuries. What happens is when you get a traumatic insult to the spinal cord, what happens, just like any other injury that you sustain in your body, is the kind of inflammatory process kicks in, and you get a lot of swelling locally in that area. And that swelling can be really damaging to recovery of neurologic function. So, it's imperative to not only stabilize the fracture, but also to decompress the spinal cord quickly so that you can mitigate some of those consequences of swelling down the road.
I would imagine a lot of orthopedic surgeons would be terrified themselves that they could cause more damage than help. So you really have to know. I'm blowing smoke, it sounds like, but I'm not blowing smoke, Doc. You really got to know your stuff, as you clearly do, to do this very carefully. And how meticulous must you be in that area not to cause any additional damage to a spinal cord that's already damaged at that point when you go in there to relieve that pressure?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we go through very extensive training. And then it also comes with experience. Myself and my partners take call at several of the high volume trauma centers here in North Jersey. And we deal with this pretty frequently. And so that's why we felt kind of uniquely capable to tackle this. But to answer your question, I bring in a large microscope into the field, and so then I can really zoom in and have millimeter, sub-millimeter precision of my micro instruments, and in order to carefully decompress the spinal cord and give it the best chance of recovery and decrease swelling, like we talked about.
How
Um,
is Michael? I'm sorry to step on you only because of time. How is Michael doing now, and what about his future?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to be part of this process with Michael, and I can't discredit kind of Michael's attitude and uh, his mental toughness in this whole recovery. But he is a little over a year from surgery now, around that year mark, and he's walking without any assistance. And time will tell. Like, he will continue to improve in time. I think he'll have a pretty normal functional recovery at this point.
That
Um,
is a miracle. Doc, that's unbelievable. I mean, I'm just thinking back, heaven forbid if this were 5 decades, 3 decades, even 2 decades back, it would be an entirely different story for this young man, and to think that he has his whole life ahead of him. He's so young, and it would have been a totally different outcome. It's if it had to happen, if this accident had to happen, thankfully it happened when it happened, and more importantly, I think, where it happened, because this kind of medical care isn't available everywhere in the country.
yeah, I think we're uniquely suited to deal with this kind of thing, and I'm just glad that I was able to be involved in Michael's care.
What message do you think this sends to others facing similar devastating diagnoses?
Yeah, I think as we kind of touched on before, I think one of the most important things when it comes to these types of spinal cord injuries is time to surgery and kind of dealing with these very quickly. Number one. Number two, having an operating room staff who is, and a whole operating room team who is well versed in this kind of thing. And number three, having, obviously the expertise to know what to do and to do the right surgery.
All right. Well, Dr. Nikhil Sahai, clearly you are the right guy for the right person at the right time. I'm sure Michael and his family are so appreciative, and it's good that you are in New Jersey. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. It is 8:48. When we come back, another check of the wintry Garden State forecast with meteorologist Mike Favetta. And we will have lots more about the Super Bowl, too. Because if you're a football fan, listen up. We here at On New Jersey Mornings have an amazing giveaway for you. We're giving away 2 tickets to Verizon Fan Fest at MetLife Stadium, Super Bowl Sunday. That's this Sunday, February 9th. You'll get to play football drills with NFL legends like Tiki Barber, O.J. Anderson, and David Tyree. Snap photos on the field and enjoy VIP access to the EY Coaches Club and Corona Beach Club. Plus, there are games, virtual reality, and so much more. To enter, follow at On New Jersey on Instagram. That's the whole name spelled out, no abbreviations. So it's at ONNEWJERSEY on Instagram. Tag 3 friends in the comments. Hurry up. The giveaway ends at midnight, February 6th. That's Thursday night. We're going to announce the winners February 7th. That's Friday. So don't miss out. For more info, scan that ginormous QR code that is blocking my face or visit at On New Jersey on Instagram. Good luck. Let's get ready for an incredible Super Bowl Sunday. On New Jersey Mornings, coming back in 2. 8:51. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. A wintry Thursday forcing schools to close or open with delays, plus some slippery travel for drivers. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has a quick Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hey, good morning to you, Ken. We'll take you through the rest of the morning with the Futurecast, showing that snow and ice wrapping up by the middle of the day, clearing this afternoon, and that will set the stage for some cold, clear weather tomorrow. But yet again, we welcome our next round of snow. Well, some of us welcome, maybe not all of us, into tomorrow evening. So what is the deal with the snow for Saturday? It starts off in southern New Jersey, transitions its way to northern New Jersey, and then by this point, 5 p.m., this Futurecast, the high-resolution version, only goes out 48 hours, so we take it to the long-range Futurecast, and by 9 o'clock on Saturday, you can see that snow lingering across northern New Jersey, some icing and some sleet mixing in central New Jersey, and the rain stays south. This could go right up until daybreak on Sunday morning, giving us a light accumulation waking up Sunday with a fresh round of 2, 3, maybe 4 inches of snow. I think it has the opportunity to impress as it moves out. Then we're back to clear sky to finish out the weekend and a nice dry start to our Monday. You see the wider view here showing the next round of snow come in and then exit by the end of Saturday night. Now, beyond that, into Tuesday and Wednesday, we have another round of snow, but that's, storm number 4. So we'll take it one storm at a time. We're just wrapping up number 1. This is number 2. And then by Tuesday into Wednesday, that's system number 3. There could be another round that comes in for Thursday of next week as system number 4. 4 winter weather events in just 7 days. That's a lot, considering that the rain in southern New Jersey will likely transition back to snow for Saturday's system before accumulating again on Tuesday and Wednesday. Might be more impactful early next week. So a lot of weather in the next several days, Ken, as we look ahead to a quite busy middle of February.
Well, we needed the rain. Now we're getting all the moisture all at once. So there you go. All right, Mike Favetta, thank you so much. Have a great day, sir.
You too.
It's 8:53. If you missed out New Jersey's GOP gubernatorial primary debate Tuesday night, we have some highlights for you this morning. One of the issues discussed was whether New Jersey has a so-called deep state.
Here's one right now. We can start with Senator Durr. So last month, we witnessed something truly remarkable. 5 New Jersey governors, including 2 Republicans and 3 Democrats, Phil Murphy and Chris Christie were there, sat shoulder to shoulder at a groundbreaking ceremony presided over by Democrat power broker George Norcross III, who is currently battling a racketeering indictment. Observers of New Jersey politics couldn't be blamed for believing this is more evidence of the existence of what some call a deep state, an entrenched and permanent bureaucracy of special interests that crosses party lines, and no matter who wins the election, the same people and interests always seem to remain in power. So my question for you, we can start with Senator Durr. Does New Jersey have a deep state problem? And if so, what would you do to address it?
I'd empower the people because absolutely we have an establishment problem. That's what I told you. We have guys here who are been in the system for years. We have people who've been part of the system who are running other campaigns. This is a cabal, whatever, for lack of a better term, that has controlled New Jersey, and they like the status quo.
The candidates were also asked about President Trump's desire to abolish the U.S. Department of Education and what it would mean for New Jersey.
The administration is taking steps to defund and dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. He wants to do it from within. If you're elected governor, will you seek to do the same thing at the New Jersey Department of Education? I'll start with Assemblyman Chitterelli.
I don't think we need more than a couple dozen people, David, to set the standards for what aptitude is for our children here in New Jersey. And at the end of the day, what matters most to a child's education is their teacher and their parents' role. So all these people that we have, thousands upon thousands working in Washington, D.C. at the Department of Education, also here in New Jersey, why? How many people does it take to establish the standards for what reading and math and aptitude should be for any child throughout their K through 12? Let's establish those standards. Let's provide for a curriculum as promulgated by a state board of education appointed by Governor Chitterelli. And then let's hope that our local school boards, in partnership with parents and teachers, can get the job done on behalf of our parents.
And also, there was a discussion about not only the Department of Education, but they were asked at one point to raise their hands if candidates think New Jersey taxes were too high. And then they were asked to explain in detail.
So I don't want any words on the first part of this question. I just want you to raise your hands if you think that taxes in New Jersey are too high. Okay, so I see 4 hands. So I want to flip that question around and ask, are there any contexts in which you think that raising taxes would be a good idea? Are there any people or companies or groups in New Jersey where you think that the taxes are not high enough right now?
I would raise taxes on the Democratic legislature if they raised taxes. And, there was an old comedian who used to say, we'll give you a break if you give the consumers a break. And the Democrats have never seen a tax they don't love.
There you have it. We just had State Senator Bramnick on a little earlier this morning talking about how he felt he did at the debates. We invited all the Republican candidates on, and they all joined us except for Jack Chitterelli. Once again, we want to say we extend our invitation to him. He's welcome to come on at any point. We are just about doing it. That'll do it for this edition of On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. Be sure to tell your friends about us. If you're wondering where you could see us at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Samsung TV Plus, a whole bunch of places. Tell your friends about us. We will see you bright and early tomorrow morning, starting at 7 a.m. on New Jersey Mornings. New Jersey's news and information source wraps up right now. Have a wonderful day, and thanks again for joining us on New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato.